Thank you for joining this insider look into the data-rich auto buyer journey with Ryan Gallagher and Steve Jambor from iovox. My name is Sonia Patterson. I'm the social media and marketing manager at iovox, and I'll be here just at the beginning going through a few items before I pass to Ryan and Steve, and then I'll be back at the end in the question and answer section. We'd really like to have any questions that you may have answered today, and we'd like to do that through the chat feature. So if you don't see the chat feature, it should be on the right side of your screen. And if you don't see it, just tap the chat icon at the top and it should pop out. Any questions that you have during this live webinar, you can type them in the chat and we'll get to them at the end of the webinar during the live Q&A. We are recording this webinar, and at the end, we will be sending it out to all registrants. So if you didn't catch something or you have to leave early, please don't worry. We will send you a recording of this at the end. So joining us today to discuss the data-rich automotive buyer journey are Ryan Gallagher, co-founder and CEO of iovox, and Steve Jambor, senior account executive at iovox. Ryan, I'll pass to you.
Thank you very much for that, Sonia. So thanks for joining us into this webinar. And whether you're watching this live or after the event, I'd like to start by saying thanks for taking the time to join us today. I know everyone's busy. So my name is Ryan Gallagher, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of iovox. I have decades of experience as an engineer, both in large-scale infrastructure and in software development. I worked for a variety of companies, including some of the largest enterprises in the world. For example, Alstom, which is one of France's largest companies, where I managed their global network of over 78 countries. I also worked at Compaq, where I was a network engineer just before they were acquired by HP. And at KPN Quest, I was lucky enough to work with an international team of engineers who were tasked with upgrading the internet backbone to allow it to support video and voice traffic. For those who aren't aware, originally it was designed purely for text, so it was a bit of a stretch to say the least. So I have a lot of background in big infrastructure and engineering in general. I'm going to hand over to Steve now so that he can introduce himself.
Thank you, Ryan. Welcome, everybody. I appreciate you joining us today. I've been in the call tracking and analytics space for over 13 years. During that time, I've been working with our partners primarily in the automotive industry, including working with multiple OEMs, the marketplace sites, website services providers, as well as others. I'm excited to share with you the data that we can capture and how we can help you to better understand the consumer journey. With that, I'll hand it back over to Ryan to kick us off.
Thank you. So here's a brief overview of what we're going to be covering today. So the main points I want to give you an overview of is who we are, what our product does, and then we're going to briefly showcase other companies like yours who we've helped before. So here at iovox, we have over a decade of experience helping companies around the world turn large troves of data into actionable insights and allow them to make concrete business decisions on that data. At the heart, we're an engineering company, so we build our products ourselves. The reason this matters is it allows us to innovate faster and to be at the forefront of the industry in functionality, features, and we don't have to ask a supplier to build something before we can sell it because we build it ourselves. That allows our customers to be ahead of the game as well. So we work with a whole range of auto marketplaces around the world in many different languages and many different regions. So you can see some of them here. We've got Auto Trader UK, Cars.com, La Centrale. We've got Coches, Le Bon Coin. There's a large list there for you to see, and there's many, many more. This is just a handful. Next up, I'm going to briefly give you an overview of our services. So what you see here is a long list of features and functionality that includes everything you'd expect from a call analytics company and more. The key point that we are focused on, though, are two things: increasing the quality of leads you generate and increasing the quantity of leads you generate. So the quality, we then help you increase the value of those leads. We do this first by creating new opportunities for engagement, and then we track and analyze that engagement. The more ways a customer can contact you, the more customers will contact you. So we use that data to be able to triangulate best lead gen practices and to find out what actually happened during the conversation so that we can create additional value and unlock additional services. I'm briefly going to highlight two specific products, but if there's any questions around any of these other features, please reach out in the chat and ask a question during the Q&A session. The two things I want to highlight here are Web Connect and Insights. So Web Connect is one of our new services, and it uses a button on a web page to initiate a browser-based call. So the caller uses the browser just like we are now, and we terminate that call onto a regular mobile or desk phone. It doesn't need phone numbers, and as a result, it gives us a truly global reach, and that's 100% accurate in tracking. On Insights, It's our conversation analytics product, and it tells us what happened during the call and allows our customers to create alerts and get custom triggered events based on the outcome of the contents of a call. Steve will explain the benefits in more detail in the next section.
Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate it. At iovox, we capture data throughout the consumer shopping experience. This includes the pre-call activity, where we identify which actions actually brought that consumer to your site, including the keyword and digital analytics. Then we have the call activity, which is the standard call tracking data that you may be familiar with today. We capture the caller name, address, phone number, as well as the day, date, and time of that specific call, along with the recording. From there, we have the post-call activity. So once we have the recording, we're able to transcribe the call in its entirety, not just provide a summary of the call. After the call is transcribed, we can add custom keyword rules that allow you to identify specific words or phrases within each call. These keyword rules allow you to pull out key data points and identify what happened in that specific call. Additionally, we can send alerts based on the customized keyword rules that have been implemented. And we have found that our partners do a fantastic job of creating leads for their clients, but often those leads are not properly actioned. Our goal is to make sure that our partners get proper attribution for the leads that they're delivering. I wanted to take you through a real life customer journey story so you can see firsthand what we see every day. Some of this data has been changed slightly. Obviously, the PII has been changed, but this is a real consumer example. We start with a consumer is more or less anonymous with very little detail. As that consumer continues to engage with your website, the consumer profile becomes clearer. This consumer actually clicked on a paid Bing ad. I know I was surprised as well, but there are many people out there using browsers outside of just Google. From there, we can capture the digital analytics data, including the UTM parameters, the campaign keyword, as well as the VIN that the particular consumer was calling on. This gives you a bunch of different data and insights to understand how your campaigns are actually performing and what's driving consumers into your site. We also capture the raw URL that person called on. So this again gives you insight into which pages are performing the best and which are driving true leads into your site. From there, we can do a reverse lookup on the caller. We pull out the caller name, their address, and their phone number. This allows us to get a better picture of who that consumer is when we look at that in terms of the digital analytics we have pulled together already. Once we have the call recording, we can actually transcribe the call and look for specific outcomes within the call. I want to stress that this is an actual call that came in. The transcription that I will show you is real. We didn't make any of this up. So you can see here, this is a consumer that called in. They were an interested buyer, a cash buyer who wanted to buy a vehicle that day. They were told by the dealership that they were too busy and needed to call that consumer back at a later date and time. These type of interactions are happening across the board every single day, and we want to help you to provide your clients with better insights as well as you with better insights into what's happening. So now that we have the call transcribed, we can pull out those actual insights like I mentioned and know that this is the cash buyer and that the lead was not handled correctly. This type of data is incredibly valuable, especially when you pair it together with the digital analytics and gives you a complete look at that customer journey from where they started on their buying process to where they ended and how that actual call was handled. With that, I will hand it back over to Ryan.
Thanks, Steve. So we help a lot of companies at different stages of life, and it really depends on what they're trying to achieve at the moment. So we spend a lot of time working with our partners to figure out where they are in the market, where they're going in the market, and what their daily challenges are. But in essence, in general, we help people pay less to generate leads, allowing them to get more leads, and then we help them get more value out of those leads. An example of how it ties together is that you can see which keywords drove a call, as Steve just showed. But you can also use the call contents to figure out a cheaper long tail keyword to get more calls of that sort at a lower price. You can figure out what they actually asked for when they spoke to the dealer to figure out what sort of keywords you can sell or buy. So put simply, we help you pay less for leads and we make them worth more and help you convert at a higher rate. And this is actually real data from a trial with one of our customers, which obviously has been anonymized. But they tracked about 200K calls and they analyzed those calls for over 30 different possible outcomes. So examples of what they were looking for include, did the caller need insurance? Did the caller need financial assistance? Did the caller have something to sell, which obviously is very important here. Across real estate and auto, there's a shortage of actual things to sell. So That's a very important part. Did the customer service rep introduce the brand as well, though? And did the rep get the name and details of the caller? So across all of these rules, we found on average there were 6 opportunities. So 6 opportunities in every single call to either improve that behavior of the agent or to actually sell something additional to those callers. And as we mentioned before, each of these outcomes can create a triggered event. So it can send an email to your marketing department. It can send an email to your financial department asking them to follow up with the details of the call in it. So here's real examples of how we've helped some of our customers. So I'm going to pick a select few of these case studies here and explain in brief how we helped them get there. So I'll pick the top left there. First off, we increased the lead volume of a customer by 700%. We did this by changing how and where they displayed the phone number on the screen, allowing them to do A/B testing for font size, color, and position of that phone number. And the key is we give them detailed test results. This has been a basic standard of web design for decades, but due to a lack of information, it's rarely used to track offline conversions. So we bring all of the things you're used to online, offline, and we give you the power to use that data properly. And coming back to our goals of quantity and quality, we increased the volume of leads for one customer by 16% just by allowing them to receive SMS messages. For another, we added a web callback button, which increased their leads by 20%. So I said it before, but the more ways a customer can contact you, the more customers that will contact you. So another example of how we helped the customers is that we blocked 2 million spam calls for a single customer in a year. We have a variety of tools to do this, including stir-shaken protocol in the US and Canada. We have automated velocity-based blocker for inbound calls and various other tools that we continuously hone. Everything that we build, we continuously rebuild, we continuously refine, and coming back to the fact that we're an engineering company, everything evolves very quickly. We release a new product set every single month. So I'm going to jump from there to a special offer, and then I'm going to hand over to Sonia. So special offer here is we'll give 5,000 in credit to anybody who is a new customer who signs up for a contract, a standard contract by the end of the year. I'm going to pass that back to Sonia, but if you have any questions on that offer or anything else, please email webinars@iovox.com.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Steve, for those fantastic presentations. So we are now at the question and answer section. If you have any questions, now is the time to write them in the chat. I have a few questions here to get us started. And I do see one question so far in the chat. So Ryan, is this GDPR compliant?
Oh yeah, of course. We comply with all regulations in whichever country we're operating in, and that's a lot of countries. We have over a decade of experience in different jurisdictions, many with more stringent requirements than GDPR. So we always err on the side of caution, and we never cut corners on privacy or on security.
Ryan and Steve from the chat, are you extracting the keywords and providing a list via your platform?
Yeah, important to know every single thing on our platform is available via the API. So all of the functionality, a lot of our customers never even come to our site. They pull everything via the API. So you can pull the keywords, you can pull triggered events, you can pull the full transcription, you can pull the CDRs. Everything is you can export via a CSV or a PDF, but most of our customers are very large scale and they automate absolutely everything top to bottom by using one of our APIs.
Fantastic. Steve, how do you know it was Paul Montana?
We, in the United States and in Canada, were able to use a reverse lookup in order to look at that person's phone number and match back the name and address associated to that particular number. So I know that rules vary depending on what country you're in, but within the United States and Canada, the reverse lookup information that we get is really good and very accurate.
Thank you, Steve. So from the chat, is this working with all languages? And I'm going to add to that, what % accuracy can you get with the transcription, Ryan?
Well, all major languages, yes. So our site is already live in multiple languages. We support a large range of languages. Honestly, I think it's 55, but it goes up all the time. So all your usual Western languages and various Asian languages as well. We support Arabic, for example, multiple different character sets. But a lot of our customers are French, Spanish, Italian, English, obviously. And we have a wider range of functionality, including support. Our support staff speak 14 different languages. So we're very big on supporting other languages. And in terms of percentages, funnily enough, French is the highest accuracy we have at the moment, which is coming in at about 98% accurate. It does depend on the conversation, the accents, and various other things, but in general, we have about a 90% accuracy rate on transcriptions.
Thank you, Ryan. Steve, how long does this take to implement?
The implementation is actually fairly simple. It just requires you adding our script to your site. This really can be done fairly quickly. It's more on how long it takes your team in order to implement the script. So it can be done really quickly. We can get you up and running very quickly and get data flowing. It's more on your timelines than it is on ours, but we're happy to help you get it implemented and walk you through all those steps.
Thank you, Steve. Ryan, what other sectors do you work in?
Well, there's no real limit to who we can work with, and we're constantly approached by companies in new sectors that we haven't actually considered, honestly. But if you have calls, SMS, or emails in your business, we can help. Our biggest sectors that we work with today are real estate, automotive, general marketplaces, insurance companies, hospitality, and healthcare off the top of my head. But we have a very broad reach of customers.
Fantastic. Steve, where can I find your API documentation?
Yes, if you need our API documentation, please reach out to me at steve@iovox.com, and I'd be happy to point you in the direction, or at the webinars at iovox.com. That email will go to me as well, and we'll make sure that you get access to the API documentation.
Perfect. Ryan, can I use insights without using call tracking from iovox?
Yeah, we have a lot of customers who do that now, and some customers who start that way and then migrate. But you can send us calls from your existing provider multiple different ways. You can just honestly upload a folder, and then we can actually pull those calls out of that folder. We can actually get the calls in real time. We have some customers who post-call will send us a URL to go and collect that recording of the call. And then we basically take those calls and push them into our system in an automated fashion. The only issue we have with that is we cannot guarantee the quality of the recordings if they don't happen on our network. So we record in a high bit rate. We always split the channels so the speakers are separated. And we also slow calls down slightly just to get that accuracy higher. And that makes insights overall more accurate. So we can't guarantee that level of quality, but we can work with any provider or any format of calls.
Steve, do you work with CRM systems?
Yes, we actually integrate with all the major automotive CRM systems, as well as CRMs in other industries as well. And our API is very robust, as Ryan mentioned. The API will allow you to integrate data wherever you want it to live. So whether it's a CRM, third-party data platform, we can make sure to push the data where you want to see it. So we have the ability natively to integrate into those CRMs. And if it's one we don't work with today, it's very easy for us to integrate with them in the future.
Ryan, Steve, from the chat, is it something that we can implement for a certain period of time, or do we need to engage for a longer time, like 1 year?
We do trials. So we have a lot of customers who do a trial to figure out if it works. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors in the industry. So people come to us and then they'll do a trial. Generally speaking, they always stay though, because it does work. So we're happy to work with customers and prove what we actually have without requiring a long-term commitment, for sure.
Is the buyer location and contact information available in Europe?
No, not in terms of reverse lookups. So that's illegal to do a reverse lookup in Europe. So you're not allowed to use a central database due to privacy laws. And coming back to my answer on GDPR, we never break the law. We don't bend the law, much less break it. So we don't do that. However, we do work with customers who have their own in-house database of customers. That can be in a CRM system or a back-end system of some sort, including booking engines. And we can use that information in real time via the API to fill in the details of the caller. So for example, we work with a restaurant booking engine. And when the call comes in, one of the first things we do in real time is we go and connect to their system and say, do you know who this person is? Or is it a new customer? If it's a new customer, we will ask them their name, transcribe it, and then we will inject that into the booking record. However, if the name is already known and already in the system, we don't need to bother doing that. So we take that data and we push that in with the call and booking as it happens. So we can use your own data We have many customers who have their own user databases, but we are not able to do reverse lookups, and nor is anybody.
Thank you, Ryan. So we have one last question here in the chat. Can you give some examples in automotive specifically? Any last examples in automotive specifically?
Most of the examples we've given in automotive, but we work with some of the biggest automotive marketplaces in the world. We do have to be careful what we say. Obviously, we don't share information if it is not part of a case study or part of marketing. But most of the examples we've used today are actually in automotive. We've worked in automotive marketplaces for over a decade now, so we have many different case studies. And one of the examples I can think of off the top of my head is that a lot of customers are trying to find new cars. So it's the same in real estate, but in auto, people are running out of cars to sell. So one of the key things people are doing is they're trying to find out, did that person want to trade in? Did that person have a car they wanted to sell? So a lot of the calls that we work with, they're trying to find out if the person who answered the phone has asked that question, if it is mentioned during the call that they have a trade-in, and in which case they take that information and put it into a whole separate queue, because there's one thing selling cars, but it's another actually getting inventory. So that's an example of how we use insights to try and beef up inventory for some of our customers. We've also worked with customers where we've helped them with their call centers, where we've actually, for example, renewed ads by using text messages rather than having to have somebody phone up, because we know if their car is sold and on our private seller basis. So we know the car is sold. We know the car is not sold. So if it is not sold at the end of that month, we can contact them and say, would you like to renew this ad for an additional month at half price? So we do things like that. There's a really wide range of sort of things that we do. And again, it comes to sitting down with the customer and saying, okay, what are you trying to do? Is it an inventory issue? Are you trying to improve value of leads? Are you trying to just generate some marketing? Are you trying to increase the quantity of leads? And almost all of that we've done in automotive. And a lot more, frankly.
Thank you, Ryan. Ryan, another question. Do you use SMS with any auto customers?
Yes, we use SMS with some of our biggest auto customers in multiple different countries too.
So just one moment here. If anybody has any last minute questions that we didn't touch on today, now would be the time to type them in the chat. I'll just give a couple moments.
While we're waiting, I mean, if anybody has any questions following this, please reach out. We're always open to new ideas, as any of our existing customers know. We like to chat. We like to come out with new ideas. We like to work with you to figure out new things that we can do. We're always building new things, and we always like our customers to feed back into that. So whether you're a customer or not, if you have ideas or if you have questions, please reach out. We're very open to discussion.
So we do have one last minute question here. In auto, for example, do you also serve smaller independent dealerships in addition to the larger auto marketplaces?
Yes, in short, we do. So we work with OEMs, we work with different brands. Not sure which ones I can mention, unfortunately, but yes, we work with them in many different countries.
Perfect. Well, everyone, that is everything that we have for you today. Thanks so much to Ryan and Steve, and thanks to all of you for joining us. As mentioned, everybody will be getting a copy of this webinar via email. And as Ryan just mentioned, if you didn't get your questions answered or something comes up next week, please do write us at webinars@iovox.com. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and thanks again for joining us.